Welcome to this week's One Image My Edit. So this week I'm going to be showing you how you can do a dual lighting effect on a portrait using Adobe Photoshop. So this technique is really fun and it's really simple. And what I mean by dual lighting effect is that we can actually create two lights that appear to be color and that are coming across our subject. So we can do this normally within the studio. When you've got lights, you can add color gels to them and you can split the color gels up. So you can have one that's say red, one that's orange or green, whatever color you want. And you'd place them over the lights and then obviously you position them onto your model. Now, if for some reason you don't have the equipment or you don't have the colored gels, then you can do it in post-production and get something very similar. Okay, so this is a really simple process, and it's only 4 or 5 clicks and you kind of end up with quite an interesting result. What I would say is that this works best on images that have a black background, and simply because we want the colors to be able to stand out, and a black background helps us do that. Okay, so I'm going to get into it and show you how to do it. So the first thing you want to do is come up to layer and then go to new fill layer and then select gradient. So we're going to be using the gradient tool to help us achieve this. You can name the gradient whatever you want. You don't have to name it. You can just press OK. I'm just going to call this left side so I know what it is. Press OK. And then what you want to do, where it says gradient, there is a little drop down arrow here. If you select that and then come into this basics folder here, which is the top one, and you want to be selecting the second option there. Okay. And once you've done that, we can change the angle and we can also change the scale, and we can actually go into the gradient and edit it. So I'm going to show you how to do all that and what it does. So the angle will just change the angle of where the light is coming from. So, we're going to be wanting it coming from left to right, or right to left, whichever way you want to do it. So I think I said this was the left side, so I better do the left side first. So if we come to the scale, you'll see that as you increase that, it gets larger. So the actual effect will go across the whole of the image. Now this is the trick. If you bring this right down to around 12, something around there, then you get a harsher line. So when you do that, it means that you can create this sort of dual lighting effect where the lights are, they're cascading across the face and it looks a little bit more real. So let's just get this angle right. So let's go for around there, I would say. And we can actually come over to here and click and move it across so we can get a little bit more precise with it. So I'd say around there is quite nice. We can come back to the scale, we can drop that, we can increase that, and again that will affect how harsh that line is. So we don't want it too harsh because we want the actual two lights to blend in together, otherwise it will look a little bit false. So you can come back and change this whenever you need to. So now what you want to do is actually click on the gradient and the gradient editor will appear. And you can see there's the name of the gradient that we're using, which is foreground to transparent, which is in the basics here. So it's the second one. That's the one that we selected earlier. Okay, so now what we can do is come down to the bottom here and click on the white box where it says color stock. Click on there and you can see the color pops up down here. And now you can select whatever color you want. So you can just come up to here and you can select whatever you want. So let's go for like a sort of disco pink look there. Press OK. And what you can also do is on the top here, this little black box here, you can slide that as well, and you'll see what that does. It starts to blend in the actual light a little bit more. So if I go in a little bit closer, you can see what it's actually doing to the face there. You can see how that is blending across a lot more. So sometimes you can do that as well, and it's quite nice because it can just, like I say, just blend it and make it look a little bit more realistic. So once you've done all that, press OK, then come up to your layers panel up here. Okay, so if you can't see that, just go to Windows and then select layers, and then within that, the actual layers there, so we can see there's the gradient there. Come up to here, and we want to be changing the blend mode. Come all the way down to where it says color. Okay, so that's the first step. So what we need to do is then do the one opposite, and then we can come back and tweak these and make them look a little bit more realistic. So let's do another one. So let's come up to layer, new fill layer, gradient. We don't need to select the second one in because it will automatically be there from the last one. So let's call this right side. So there's a gradient, it's already selected for us, so we don't need to worry about that. Let's bring this down again to around 12 and let's change the angle of that. So let's go with something along the lines of there, just move that in a little bit there. Click on the gradient. Again, if we want to, we can blend that a little bit more. More importantly, we can come down to here and change the color. So let's go for a bit of a blue. Let's go a little bit higher, or maybe just bring that down a little bit as well. So we've got a little bit more of a teal color. So press OK, press OK again, press OK, and then go to your blending modes up here and select color. There we go. So now we've got the workings of our picture. We can kind of play around with this now and tweak it. So if we actually come back to the left side, so the pink, if we double click on that, what we can do is, again, we can change the angle, so we can really fine tune this as much as we want. We can also change the scale. So if we move that up, what that's going to do is blend it a little bit more. If we bring it down, it's going to be a lot harsher. You can see there we're starting to see the line. It's starting to become quite solid. So we want to try and do this so it looks realistic. So I reckon around 20, something like that. That's quite nice. And again, if we wanted to change the color, we could just come down here and we can also change that smoothness just by sliding this up. So that's looking pretty good to me. Let's go to the blue one, do the same, and let's just change this angle maybe something like that. There we go. And the scale, again, we can increase that to blend it more, and you can see there that's what you'd get. You can see how much you can blend this to make it look a little bit more realistic. Let's bring that down a little bit. So about there, that looks pretty good to me. Press OK. And then finally, to really get this looking spot on, is to actually come to the layer here and then just come to the opacity and just bring that down. So if we start bringing it down, we can see there that we can bring it down to a point where it's starting to look a little bit more natural. And I think it's around there. That looks a little bit more natural to me. So we can do the same on the blue. Now the blue is not going to be as much because the pink's quite a bright color. The blue's a darker color. So we can actually get away with the blue a lot more. But if we bring that down, you can see there it's starting to look a little bit more realistic and a little bit more like they're blending in. You know, the images are kind of blending in. So I reckon about there. Okay. We could come back to this gradient here and just come to the scale and just blend that a little bit more, maybe. Yeah, about there. And that's it. Press OK. And that's your shot. That's how you do it. So like I said, there's only a few different steps. I've just gone to the history, come down to the camera. If I click on that, that's going to give me a snapshot. So that's basically just saved all my work. I can go back to the beginning. So this is what we had to start with. And then using them gradients, we've basically added that blue and that pink, which looks quite funky. And we can always come back and change this. That's what's good about it, is that you can come down here and you can change these colors to whatever you want, so you can really fine tune them. You can, you know, take the saturation out a little bit more if you wanted to, or you could really punch it up and go a lot brighter. So the world is your oyster. You can literally do whatever you want with that. But it looks quite cool, quite interesting. You don't necessarily have to use bright, vivid colors that I've done. You can, you know, you can calm it down a little bit, like I say, with the actual overall opacity and fill. Usually the opacity is the one that works the best. So you can just get a hint of light there, and that actually does look more natural than it being really bright. So it would actually kind of look like that out of camera. And that's what you do. So it's as simple as that. So have a go, have a play, see how your images turn out, and I look forward to seeing them. Post them up in the Facebook group, and if you need any advice on it, give us a shout. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.